So welcome back to the Bills edition of Sports Bruisers. If this one's going to be the preview of the divisional round between the Bills and Denver Broncos, Saturday, at least the day recording tomorrow at 4:30 p.m. Eastern on CBS. And we look at ESPN here for their projected win percentage. They have it, the Broncos 51-48, slight favorites for the Broncos, as it should be. You look it down here, it goes back and forth with the points there. Overall, it should be the same. We'll look at ESPN right now and go on PFF. But right now for ESPN, they have the Broncos as a 1.5 point favorite and 45.5 over under for the total stats there, if you do care about that for the betting side of things. Here, I'll look at the season stats right now for both sides of it. Bo Nix and Josh Allen, looking for the passing yards there, a little bit close on par with that. Bo Nix almost having 4,000 yards passing. Josh Allen, a little bit of a step down this season, but again, you look at how the offense has been this year. Not surprising whatsoever. You look at for the running game, huge difference in this one. J.K. Dobbins being the leading rusher, has not played in a while, so you have to really rely on more on Harvey. But with James Cook, the leading rusher in the NFL, and hopefully he can have a bigger impact in the divisional round as opposed to what he did in the wild card against Jacksonville. You look at for the receiving stats too. Again, a little bit lackluster for the passing game there with Shakir with 719 yards. You look at Son over 1,000 yards this season. Sacks is the big difference there. You look at Benito with 14 sacks, Greg Russo 7 sacks, which even with Russo being at 7, the whole pass rush for the Bills has struggled immensely. Even with, I know Bosa has 5 sacks. He does have the forced fumbles and so forth with it. But overall, for the stack wise, it's just been an MO for the Bills for years now, where they've struggled to find somebody that can have at least double-digit sacks. If I had it once in the Bills' tenure, if I had that correct. If I don't, please point out to me. But it was Floyd, I think, back in 2023, a free agent signing on a one-year deal. The Bills since then have not had a double-digit sack person. And it's a problem. Russo has a step up in this one, and we'll get to that in a second. But you have, again, leading sack leader for both sides, as well as leading tacklers. Cole Bishop is our leading tackler, 85. Singleton with 135 at that spot there. You look at injuries right now, it's brutal. It definitely is to see. But there was reports that Ed Oliver and Curtis Samuel will play or have been activated off IR for this game, which is huge. No question about that. Need that, especially that defensive line for Ed Oliver. I don't know how he's going to be with being off for months, but huge help, no doubt about that. I mean, we thought that at the very least it was going to have to be conference championship or Super Bowl for him to even have the opportunity to return. He is available for this game here. Or at the very least, I should retract that. Questionable. Have been activated off of IR or questionable to play. Let me rephrase that before I butcher that even more. So you'd hope that these guys can play, especially for Curtis Samuel, because of how desperate the wide receiver position is, even though I'm not a big Curtis Samuel fan ever. We need the bodies. No question about that. Other two, Ty Johnson's big too, if we can have him in the passing game as well. He was out for the wild card game as well. Hamlin, right now, don't know what's his status is going to be. A little bit of uncertainty with the safety spot with Poyer being out. So I don't know if it's going to be Cam Lewis, Jordan Hancock. We'll see who gets to go in that one, as well as for the Broncos too. Notable name on here, J.K. Dobbins, their best running back. This on the team here got hurt unfortunately earlier this year. And that is a big loss there, but still, Bills got to keep it up on the run defense there. They definitely, thankfully, the Jacksonville didn't take full advantage of the running tack, but definitely gave the Bills some trouble there with good gashes here and there on the running game. So we'll see what plays out there. And looking at PFF on that side here, again, if you do care about the over under, it's relatively the same. Denver right now is a 1 point favorite, 46 for the total points scored. You look at overall rankings, Bills are second, Broncos are fifth. Total defense, 13 for the Bills, third for the Broncos. Offense, second for the Bills, 10th for the Broncos. Strength of schedule played, strength of schedule played, 28th versus 16th. And going down the list here, you look at especially the run pass option here, the pass heavy for the Broncos, 63.1% to 36.9%. And again, probably more so given with J.K. Dobbins being hurt, had to rely a little bit more upon on the passing game as well. The Bills are 55-44 for the pass as well. And scrolling down a little bit further here, if you look at the quarterback comparisons, if you do care about the grades at all, but Josh Allen with a 90.5, Bo Nix 75.2, pass rating clean 114.2 to 99.2, pass rating under pressure 74 to 60.2, big time throw percentage 14.7 to 406. And let's see what else. Turnover worthy plays 224 to 280. And this one, you look at for the power rating ranking or power rating rank first for Josh Allen, 20th for Bo Nix there. So a huge difference in that aspect as well. But certainly the big thing too is pressure. And we have seen Josh Allen at times get certainly, tons of pressure on him. Has been harassed constantly at times, and it has rattled him a little bit. I mean, one notable one more recently is, I don't want to keep bringing up over and over again, but the Philadelphia game, especially with that 2-point conversion play. So that is something key that it's going to really be at for both offensive lines. So they're both good. Both one of the best in the NFL on each side of the ball, or each side for the teams. But it's going to really have to come down to who's going to get the pressure there, and that's why I think it's really big for Ed Oliver, even with him being out for months. And if he can give us some snaps and just be some part of the rotation, if he could be a little bit of, just something of there, more of a presence on the defensive line, that could be huge, because he was a disruptor in the 3 games he played. He definitely was. He had great performances in the small amount of games he played this season. That's gonna be huge if he can play again. I know it's asking way too much for a guy who's not played since, I think, week 6 against the Falcons. So we'll see with that, but it's going to have to, I talk about for Greg Russo, breaking down the sacks for the sack leaders for both teams. He's going to have to really step up. He had a sack in the wild card game against Jacksonville. Bosa, the guy that we've talked about going all the way back to the free agency. What's this guy going to do in January? What is he going to do when it matters most? And that's more I'm really looking at for this spot here against the Broncos. Can you rattle Bo Nix? Can you get to him? And again, it falls on really Russo and Joey Bosa. Can those guys get home? Can you at least give me a sack? Russo, can you replicate what you did in the Jacksonville game? Bosa, can you give me a little bit more than what you did in that game as well? So we'll see how it plays as well. Unfortunately, Maxwell Harrison will not be playing as well as we talk about Jordan Poyer. So it's going to be interesting how everything plays up there. Tre'Davious White, it may be asking a ton for you to replicate what you did against Jacksonville and your great performance there, but you're going to have to step up. If you could be at least 80% of that, that'd be great. For the safety, like I said, I don't know if it's be Cam Lewis, Jordan Hancock, but certainly they're going to be trying to attack that side as well, because you saw what Jacksonville did once Poyer went down. They went after Hancock a few times. He couldn't do anything, and then thankfully we were able to kind of recover from there and not being the deciding factor, but we have to figure out that spot as well, because I think certainly Sean Payne will try and scheme up plays to attack that side of the ball. For the safety, whoever steps in for that one. So again, it's going to be very tough. No question about that. It's going to be a very tough game, as all these playoff games are. So I don't want to really go on the limb and say this is tougher than the other. I mean, each game as we advance is going to be even more difficult. Whether if we somehow win this game, it's going to be Houston or the Patriots. It's going to be a very tough matchup either way. Going to have to go to New England or Houston for that matchup. But for the Broncos, tough. It is still a great defensive team. You have Patrick Surtain, the reigning defensive player of the year, on there as well. But like we talked about, the sack leader with 14 sacks, they can get after the quarterback. This is a great defense. It's going to be another tall task for Josh Allen in this offense with a weak receiving core with Keon Coleman, Shakir, Curtis Samuel, hopefully for that sake. But you have Brandon Cooks. I would presume that Mecole Hardman is going to be elevated as well into the lineup too. So again, it's not a great receiving core. It's not, but people are going to have to step up along with, of course, with Knox and Kincaid as well, which is a big part of the receiving game too on top of that. But people are going to have to step up. And I think one's really going to be Keon Coleman. Not saying he's going to, but I think that's someone's going to have to step up for that one. He did have one good catch against Jacksonville, but after that, we need more, especially with the bodies being down with Tyrell Shavers and Gabe Davis tearing the ACLs last week. We need you to step up more. I need more than just one catch from you. I know you haven't done too much since week 1, really. But we need you to step up. We need a little bit more from you. We need a few more catches. We need a big play to help try and even out the load for everyone else. I mean, I do expect Shakir to have a similar role like he did last week and be targeted heavily in the passing game. But certainly that is one person I'm going to be keeping my eyes on is Keon Coleman. What are you going to do now being thrust into an emergency lineup now where there's not really that many healthy bodies at the wide receiver position right now? And frankly, there's not going to be any for the rest of the year. Even if you go all the way to the Super Bowl, you're not going to have Gabe Davis. You're not going to have Tyrell Shavers. I think Palmer will still be on IR at that point. So again, there's not that many more people left. You're going to have to step up. It's going to be a tall task for you because I don't know where Surtain's going to line up to Shakir or the Cooks, whoever he's going to line up to, those people are probably going to be locked down a good amount in this game. Someone's going to have to step up. Keon, I'm looking at you. I'm looking at you to do something in this one. And certainly James Cook. He's going to have to be one that's going to have to take a big step in this one to take the load off of Josh Allen, who's dealing with a bunch of injuries. If you look at the injury report, I think it's I think it's knee, right finger, and then and foot. Knee, right finger, and foot. So he's been battered. We saw how bad he got hit against Jacksonville. You got to take some of the load off. You got to protect him. James Cook has to get going. Can't be another, around 40, 50 yards rushing. It has to be a big game. He has to be a big contributor on this year, and it goes on the offensive line too as well. They gotta set the tone up front with that front five there, and with James Cook on the running game as well. And again, hopefully we can get Ty Johnson back because he's big. Last year too, certainly was big in the third down mark as well. Not so much this year in the passing game, but certainly is still a viable running option as well in that rotational piece alongside with Ray Davis, who has been great this far this season with special teams and starting good field position for us as well. So there is it's gonna be another grind out game. How I talked about in the recap video for the wild card, it's gonna be a tough physical game there. You're gonna have to fight for everything you got in this one. Nothing's going to be easy against, especially at Jacksonville or especially at Denver at Arrowhead with being the high altitudes as well. So again, it's not ideal. It's not, especially for a battered Bills team going up there with the Broncos having a week off from the bye week in the wild card, as well as having a much smaller injury report for them as well. Even with J.K. Dobbins, who was a big part of their offense out, it's still far less than what the Bills are handling right now. They can do it, but it's going to have to be a collective effort. And I know there's tons of pressure on Josh Allen, the media, to elevate and get over the top here. Even though, again, they're outrageous with everything. It's going to have to be another performance like that. It sucks because of all the injuries he has on him, all the hits he's taken. It's going to have to be another masterclass like he did last week in the wild card. It's going to have to be like that. We're going to have to find ways to make some great throws like he did to Cooks at the end of the game, as well as I think kind of like you want to say a wheel route or the pass the sideline to Kincaid for one of his touchdowns as well. It's going to have to be throws like that, performances like that by Josh Allen to beat this Denver Broncos defense. It's going to be very difficult. Again, they have a great secondary and they can get after the quarterback. I mean, it's and maybe in some areas it's a little bit easier going against the Broncos over Jacksonville, but relatively you're facing on par a similar type of defense there. It's going to be very difficult to move the ball here. And I got the two people I'm really looking at is Keon Coleman and James Cook. Can those guys get going? Can Keon Coleman be an outlet for Josh Allen and give you just more than one catch? Can you give me at least 3 or 4? Can you at least be a contributor on this passing attack? And again, for James Cook, can he do what he does? Can you give me close to 100 yards rushing? Because it's probably going to have, if you really want to help Josh Allen out and take a lot of the load off him and help and make things a lot easier for the passing attack that's already weak already, you're going to have a big game by James Cook. And kind of focusing, like, again, back where I said, the defense outside of the pass rush with Russo and Joey Bosa. We talk about for the receivers, not too crazy, but better. Certainly far better than what the Bills have right now. Corn Sullivan is a solid wide receiver there. You have Marvin Mims, who is a deep threat as well. James Franklin, too, on top of that. And Bo Nix is, maybe not the most flashy quarterback, maybe not the most impressive quarterback at times, but certainly grinds games out and has found ways to pull out in the fourth quarter and make plays happen. That's something you have to keep your eye on. And he's a relentless quarterback. That's going to be something a big challenge for this Bills defense. Can they stop Sean Payton in this Bo Nix offense in the fourth quarter like they've done in this past over this course of the season thus far? It's gonna be difficult. It is. It's going to be certainly more difficult than, even though you would say the caliber quarterbacks, Lawrence is better than Bo. How do you want to feel about that? If you think Bo Nix is better than Lawrence is better than Bo Nix, how do you feel about that? It's gonna be, I think, even more difficult than the Jacksonville game. I really do. I think it's going to be even tougher than it was at Jacksonville, which might be already maybe a little too much to think about because that was already stressful enough to watch that. And then you're thinking, well, what's going to be even more difficult at Mile High for this one? Yes, it's going to be difficult, but the Bills can do it. It's going to be, again, nothing's easy. Nothing's easy at this point, especially without injuries. And I know it's unfair to put a lot on Josh Allen in this one. I'm not trying to feed into the media side of things, but he's going to have to elevate. He's going to have to be Superman once again, and he's going to have to be like that for the rest of the playoffs if they can advance. For this round, the championship game, the Super Bowl, he's going to have to be like that. He cannot have an okay game. He cannot be just good. He needs to be Superman. He needs to be great. He needs to find ways to make plays, and that's something, unfortunately, that's going to be called upon even more for this game. Again, given all the weapons that we've lost thus far, and again, especially with Shavers and Gabe Davis out, it's going to have to be really called upon there because it's really the only person the two people you really trust at the wide receiver position is just Cooks and more so Shakir. Coleman, unfortunately, has not done anything since week one. McCole Hartman, if he does get elevated, you had not even a game with him against the Buccaneers, and that one, you look at Curtis Samuel has done really nothing this year. So you really have only two players you really are familiar with, more so Shakir for the whole season. Tall task, but I think the Bills can do this. Very difficult, but again, it goes back to the offense. The key players is obviously James Cook, but more so Keon Coleman. Like I said, can you open things up? Can you make things easier and make this defense have to focus on someone else in the receiving game as opposed to maybe Shakir or Cooks and be another outlet for Josh Allen? And then for the defensive side, I'm really looking for Joey Bosa to step up and show, hey, this is why we signed you. This is what we're hoping for that you can do in January when we get to these games. That as well. And of course, on top of it, like I said, too, for Trey White, can he replicate at least something? Not saying 100% of what he did last week, but at least can you give me 80%, 70, 80%? Can you give me someone like that shutting down whoever it's going to be? I don't know whether at times he's paired up with Sutton, with Mims, whoever. I need someone like that. I need a great running mate with Benford alongside them to help really, stifle this already being questionable offensive attack by the Broncos that some people are very iffy on with that one. Great defense, very shaky at times for his offense. And if you're someone that's not a big Bo Nix fan, this could be, so they can make things even tougher on him too. Having a great corner duo alongside the defense there to shut down, again, whether it's Mims, Sutton, or whoever the duo you want to be at wide receiver and make things more difficult for them and maybe try and force them to run the ball more than they need to do. Again, you look at that; they only run the ball under 30% of the time. Can stifle them a little bit more, and the running game has not been the same since J.K. Dobbins has been out. Harvey hasn't done too much, so again, that could be you could really suffocate this offense as the game progresses and make it more difficult for Bo Nix there and give more opportunities to Josh Allen to put points on the board and have maybe a comfortable lead at some point where. You can maybe you could pressure the Broncos into making a mistake, an interception, a fumble late in the game because they feel pressed because they have to come back in this game. So again, we'll see how everything plays out here. Once again, like I said, 4:30 kickoff tomorrow Eastern time on CBS. There, hopefully for the recap video that we can be like how it was for Jacksonville. Hopefully we can talk about the praise of Josh Allen, this offense, and talk about how everything's going to be next week for the AFC Championship game. We'll see how it plays out there. Again, 4:30 kickoff for the divisional round.